This state has many specialties. The state is a semi-exclave of the United States and by far the largest by area, comprising more total area than the next three largest states by area combined. Yet, it is actually the third least populous and the most sparsely populated state. Yes, in this video, we are talking about Alaska. Now, the name Alaska was introduced in the Russian colonial period and was derived from an Aleut language idiom, which figuratively refers to the mainland. Now, Alaska is the northernmost and the westernmost state in the United States, and it also has most easterly longitude in the United States because the Aleutian Islands passes through the international dateline into the eastern hemisphere. So this makes Alaska the northernmost, westernmost, and easternmost state in the United States, and that is just remarkable. Now, Alaska itself is located on the northwest extremity of the country's west coast, just across the Bering Strait. Now, this state is bordered by Canada's Yukon Territory and British Columbia to the east and southeast, respectively, making it the only state to border a Canadian territory. The Gulf of Alaska and the Pacific Ocean both border it to the south and southwest, and the Bering Sea, Bering Strait, and the Chukchi Sea to the west, and the Arctic Ocean to the north. Now, Alaska is very close to Russia, as the Russian Big Diomede Island and the Alaskan Little Diomede Island are only 3 miles apart. Also, the states of Alaska and Washington are about 500 miles apart, being separated by the Canadian province of British Columbia. Alaska is technically part of the continental US because it is part of the continent, but is sometimes not included in colloquial use. Alaska isn't part of the contiguous US, often called the Lower 48. Alaska is the only non-contiguous US state on continental North America. Now, the capital of Alaska is Juneau, which is located on the mainland of the North American continent, but is not connected by road to the rest of the North American highway system. Instead, Anchorage is the most populous city in Alaska, and nearly half of Alaska's residents, which means roughly 300,000 people, live within the Anchorage metropolitan area. The capital city of Juneau and also Fairbanks are the two next largest cities after Anchorage, with each having roughly 30,000 residents. Sitka is another city which has about 9,000 residents. Now, here is the flag of Alaska State, and this is the state seal. Now, the Alaskan flag was designed in 1927, 32 years before it became a state, and it consists of 8 golden stars on a blue background. 7 of the 8 stars are arranged like the Big Dipper constellation, which you can see in Alaska, while the other star is larger and in the top right corner of the flag. Now, the blue symbols the Alaskan sky and the official flower of Alaska, the forget-me-not. The Big Dipper symbolizes strength, like that of the bear of Ursa Major, the constellation which the Big Dipper is a part of. And the other star represents Polaris, another star in the sky, commonly called the North Star, and it symbolizes the future state of Alaska, being the most northerly. Now, this makes sense as this flag was designed before Alaska even became a state, so that this star symbolizes the, at that time, future state of Alaska makes sense. Next, Alaska's official state bird is the willow ptarmigan. Note the word ptarmigan with a P at the beginning, which is silent, and the official Alaskan state flower is the forget-me-not, as mentioned earlier. The state tree is the Sitka spruce, the land mammal is the moose, and the marine mammal is the bowhead whale. Now, the state fish is the king salmon, and the state motto is North to the Future. Now, the nickname of the state is the Last Frontier, and the two-letter code is AK. Unlike other US states, Alaska isn't divided into counties. Rather, it's divided into boroughs. Yeah, boroughs, not exactly like New York City boroughs. Here they function pretty much like counties do. Alaska's 19 boroughs primarily cover densely populated parts of the state. But Alaska's boroughs don't even cover the entire land area of the state. The area which isn't part of any borough is referred to collectively as the unorganized borough. The U.S. Census Bureau divided this unorganized borough into 11 census areas. Now, most of Alaska follows U.S. Alaskan Time, which is Coordinated Universal Time, UTC, minus 9 hours. So, Alaskan Time is U.S. Pacific Time minus 1 hour. But the Western Aleutian Islands actually observe Hawaiian Aleutian Time, which is 1 hour behind the remainder of the state. So it's 2 hours behind Pacific. Now, with an estimated population of over 731,000 people in 2020, Alaska is the third least populous state in the US after Wyoming and Vermont. And it is the most sparingly populated state with just 1.2 inhabitants per square mile. Now, approximately half of its population lives within the Anchorage metro area. Alaska's native Indian population is significantly high at over 15% compared to any US state, and they exercise considerable influence in both local and state politics. In 2014, Alaska governor signed the bill which gives the official language status to 20 of its native indigenous languages. Now let's take a look at the history of this state. The history of human arrival in Alaska's region dates all the way back to at least 14,000 BC, when foraging groups crossed the Bering Land Bridge and settled into what is now Western Alaska. Note that this used to be a land bridge. Soon this all sunk down, and now you see this as the Bering Strait. Now, Alaska was considered the entry point for the settlement of North America by way of this Bering Land Bridge. The Russians were the first Europeans to settle the area, beginning in the 18th century. I mean, they're close enough to the area. The expense and difficulty of maintaining this distant possession for the Russians prompted its sale to the US in 1867 for $7.2 million at the time. Now, Alaska was a US territory for quite a while before it was finally admitted as the 49th state of the US on January 3rd, 1959. Now, Alaska has one of the smallest state economies in the country, yet its per capita income is actually among the highest, owing to a quite diversified economy dominated by fishing, natural gas, and oil, all of which it has in abundance. Alaska's 2020 GDP is just $52 billion, and the per capita income is $64,780, as per the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis. Now, Alaska's economy is primarily dependent on three sectors: the petroleum and gas industry, the federal government, and the industries and service sector. the 1968 discovery of oil at Prudhoe Bay, and the 1977 completion of the Trans-Alaska Pipeline System led to an oil boom in the region. Owing to the royalty revenues from oil, which funded large state budgets since 1980, Alaska repealed its state income tax entirely. Now, the United States federal government provides over 130,000 jobs in Alaska through its offices and armed forces bases. Federal subsidies also play an important role in Alaska's economy as well. Because of its cold climatic conditions, agriculture represents only a very small fraction of the Alaskan economy. After oil and natural gas, the main export product from Alaska is seafood, especially salmon and crab. The industries sector includes crude petroleum, natural gas, coal, gold, precious metals, zinc, and other mining, seafood processing, timber and wood products. And the tourism sector is flourishing in Alaska right now and contributes significantly to the state's economy. Now, let's take a look at Alaska's climate, which is really a very big deal because most of Alaska is cold, owing to its proximity in the North Pole. The lowest temperature ever recorded in Alaska was -80 degrees Fahrenheit in Prospect Creek, Interior Alaska, on January 23, 1971, which was just 1 degree above the lowest temperature recorded in continental North America, recorded in the village of Snag, located in Yukon, Canada. The highest ever recorded temperature in Alaska is 100 degrees Fahrenheit in Fort Yukon on June 27, 1915, which actually makes Alaska tied with Hawaii for the lowest high temperature of any state, 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, the extratropical storm track runs along the Aleutian Island chain, across the Alaska Peninsula and along the coastal area of the Gulf of Alaska, which exposes these parts of Alaska to a large majority of the storms crossing the North Pacific. The climate in Juneau in the southeast panhandle is a mid-latitude oceanic climate in the southern sections, and a subarctic oceanic climate in the northern parts. Now, Juneau is the only region in Alaska in which the average daytime high temperature is above freezing during the winter months. It's only Juneau region, nowhere else, which is kind of incredible. Now, South Central Alaska, including Anchorage, has a mild climate compared to much of Alaska due to its proximity to the seacoast. The interior of Alaska has extreme temperatures of the highest and lowest recorded temperatures that I have mentioned earlier. Now, the northernmost Alaska has an Arctic climate with long, cold winters and cool summers, where it snows all year round. Now, the Aleutian Islands chain, consisting of more than 300 small volcanic islands, extends west from the southern tip of the Alaska Peninsula. With all these islands combined with the main peninsula, Alaska has 34,000 miles of coastline, longer than all of the other US states combined. Now, approximately 65% of Alaska is owned and managed by the US federal government as public lands, including a multitude of national forests, national parks, and national wildlife refuges. Now, this in turn pretty much means that a good number of Alaska, almost all of it, is pretty much federal land. Now, Alaska has more than 3 million lakes and has plenty of glaciers covered up, Bering Glacier being the largest glacier in North America, covering 2,008 square miles. Now, Denali, or Mount Denali, with a summit elevation of 20,310 feet, is the highest mountain peak in the entirety of North America, and it's located in interior Alaska. And hunting, fishing, and dog mushing are the common recreational events in Alaska. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you like my videos, then make sure to subscribe and don't forget to click the bell icon so you don't miss my new videos every time I upload. Once again, thanks so much for watching. Love you, Akash.